You guys seen the Zeus? Now that's definitely the god of the Airguns. Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives.
Welcome to another episode of Airgun Detectives. I'm your host, JC, and today we get to take the mystery out of the world's most powerful airgun. This is the AEA Zeus. This is the Generation 2. But before we get into that, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down in the corner if you haven't already. It really helps out the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It's absolutely free. Also, check out my website when you have a chance, www.airgundetectives.com. On that site, I got t-shirts, hats, got my Generation 2 bipods, and occasionally I also liquidating some of my personal inventory. But anyway, let's get back to the subject on hand. I got to tell you guys, I am beyond excited about reviewing this rifle and going to take it through our gamut here. But I am so excited. This literally is the world's most powerful production airgun. It really is. This is a PCP rifle. This comes in both .58 caliber, which would be 50 caliber, and .72 caliber, which is roughly 12 gauge. Today, we're going to be doing the 72 caliber. I wanted the big guy here. This comes in 3 variations as far as barrels go. You got a 16-inch barrel, a 24-inch barrel, and a 32-inch barrel. This is the 24-inch barrel. This also has a 400cc air tank on it. Now they vary depending on the length of the barrel. For instance, the 16-inch has a 300cc tank, and the 32-inch barrel has a 660cc tank. And I said briefly, this maximum fill pressure on this is 4,500 psi. The rifle, it's not for the feeble. This rifle weighs 10 pounds without the optics on it. And obviously it does not come with the bipods or the optics. It does come with a Picatinny rail on the bottom here that you can mount your bipods to, which is nice. The overall gun, 42 inches long, and again, I'll tell you, this was the 24-inch barrel. This is the side cocking lever. This is a very heavy-duty cocking lever. The gun can be decocked. It's got an ambidextrous safety. In other words, a little safety pin here can be switched to either side, which is kind of nice. So as I said, side lever cocking. Let me give you a little perspective of what this shoots, because traditionally you guys have all shot .177 caliber BBs. So let's just try a little BB there. Hopefully that won't roll away. There you go. There's a little BB. That's a .177 caliber BB. We also have, which is one of the most common pellets, would be a .177 caliber pellet. And then the next most common would be 22. So we'll just stop with those. So the 177 and 22 caliber, 22, 177, 177 BB, the most common pellets out there that we shoot. But let me give you an example of what this shoots. This will shoot anywhere between a 440 grain to 1180 grain pellet. Let me show you the size of the pellet. It's just unbelievable. I mean, that pellet is huge. And by the way, it'll shoot round ball too. Why don't you compare that to the BB? In fact, just the hollow point alone, these will fit in the hollow point. But anyway, I just wanted you guys to get a perspective of that. And just to give you a little bit more detail, you guys are familiar, some of you maybe not be, but 12 gauge shotgun, they shoot slugs. Here's a slug that a 12 gauge shotgun shoots. That's a 440 grain slug right there. That's a 440 grain, which is a 1 ounce slug. This right here is like 2.6 ounces, 2.69 I believe ounces. That is one big pellet. Now it does shoot also an equivalent 1 ounce slug too. There's variations. In fact, Mr. Hollow Point, he's the one that custom makes these pellets for this, which are fantastic. And I'll leave you guys a link below for that. But anyway, that's just to give you a perspective of what this thing shoots, because it's pretty crazy. And I got to show you something else that's really special. Believe it or not, we have from Donnie FL. If you guys don't know who Donnie FL is, he makes the best airgun suppressors, all metal airgun suppressors. But believe it or not, we got a suppressor for this. Check this out. look at the size of this suppressor. Just give you an idea about this. Anyway, so the great thing is we're going to be able to use this suppressor on this rifle, so we're going to be able to do some testing right here in the backyard, which is good. But just to let you guys know, this video is going to be a little different than some of the others because we got a little bit more to cover, because I'm telling you, I'm excited. I want to run this through the gamut plus some. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a chrono test right here in the backyard. Then we're going to go ahead and do a trigger test, and then we're going to move off to my buddy Carl's ranch, the Marie Helena ranch, and we're going to do some more thorough testing on this rifle. We're going to get out in the open, a little more range, a few things like that. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this. We really are. Just to point out real quick, as you guys can see, the fill gauge is on the side here. Fills to 4,500 psi. This is non-regulated. Has the Foster fitting filler right here on the bottom, as you guys can see that. And like I said, you can fill it up to 4,500 psi. But we're going to run this through the gamut. We're going to have a lot of fun, I'm telling you. As I said before, this video is going to be a little bit different, so be patient. It's going to probably be a little longer than normal, but it's going to be worth it, because it's not too often you get to see the world's most powerful air gun in action. So let's go out and test it, have fun, and we'll make our rounds, and then we'll come back and wrap the thing up with our conclusion. All right, let's test the king of air guns out here, our Zeus 72 caliber, for some velocity. This is filled to the full 4,500 psi. It's non-regulated, so we're just going to take about 3 shots, and I'll show you where it goes as far as air pressure. We're going to shoot a 460 grain hollow point. These are put together by Mr. Hollow Point, and we'll just see how well it does over the chronograph. Anyway, I do have to thank Donnie of Donnie FL, though. If we didn't have this awesome suppressor on this gun, we could not be chronoing on this in the backyard. Now the rest of the shooting, we're going to go out to my buddy's ranch, and we're going to do some shooting there here. As soon as we're done here, we'll head on out there. And so we can show some performance, and we'll do it without the suppressor so you guys can gauge how loud this is. Anyway, let's see how well we do. God, it just cracks me up every time I put one of these slugs in these guns. It's so big, so amazing. All right, fire in the hole. Get ready to fire this cannon. All right, shot number 1. That was 1071. All right, shot number 2. It's just unreal. It's like shooting a 12 gauge, just so you guys know. Shot number 2, 968. And just so you know, we're down to about 200 bar on that one. So let's do one more. Okay, last one. Again, fire in the hole. That looked like 930. Anyway, look at the foot-pounds of energy on that. That is just, that's off the chart. It really is. Pretty amazing stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's a workout. I'm telling you, it's like shooting a 12-gauge shotgun. It really is. Recoil, the whole bit. And thank God, once again, for that suppressor, because we'd have to be wearing air protection if we didn't have that on there. All right, let's move on to the next segment. All right, let's test out the pull weight on our Zeus. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a light trigger, but in this cannon, you don't want it to be light. Trust me, this is a hunter. You're not going to be doing precision target shooting with this. So it's got a heavy trigger. I have no idea what it is. It's going to be the first time that I've actually ever tested it. So let's find out. We got our trusty Lyman trigger gauge. Let's reset that. Let's see what happens. Actually, not bad. It's under 5 pounds. 4 pounds, 6.1 ounces. 4 pounds, 6.1 ounces. So not too shabby. So I would probably, this isn't all the way full, so if it's full, there's going to be a little bit more tension as far as firing the hammer spring and what have you. So I'm going to guess maybe 5 pounds max. So you're looking at the 4.5, 5 pound trigger on this, which is actually pretty nice. All right, let's move on to the next segment. Okay guys, as you see, we moved out to Marie Helena's ranch. This is my buddy's ranch, And that's where we need to shoot this Zeus. As you can tell, I took Donnie FL's suppressor off. It was good for the chrono because we could do that in the backyard. But out here, I just want to shoot it without the suppressor. Of course, that's why I got the ear protection on, because this thing does put out some noise, and I would highly recommend ear protection unless you have Donnie's suppressor on there. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to shoot 3 shots, and we're going to see how well this groups. We're 50 yards out, because I figured that's probably a good range, but 50 yards out, and I'll show you what type of grouping we get. All right. We're going to go ahead and shoot these 580 grain slugs. These are put together by Mr. Hollowpoint. Bought those from him. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and shoot 3 shots. Let's see how well we do. All righty. Awesome. It's like shooting a 12 gauge. It really is. Recoil and all. It is like shooting 12 gauge. All right. Gotta love it. Now that was closer to the center. Let's see if we can put one more touch in our other one. Oh, now that was a good shot. Well, that should do it. Whoa, whoa, that was a good group, but look at that. It's our little gopher friend. He found us over here. We're gonna take that guy out. See if we can put him down. Oh, I'd say that was a headshot. I definitely think we got him. Yeah, this is very impressive. You think about it, 50 yards, I just took the head off a gopher. So this is definitely designed for hunting. It definitely has the accuracy to go with it. So let's move on to the next segment. All right, let's do a little penetration test with the Zeus here. We've got some 2x8 set up. I think there's like 3 of them. And we're gonna see how much penetration we can get at those, and then we'll take a close-up look at it. All right. We can say fire in the hole. Wow. Let's go take a look at this. You can see this did some serious damage here. So without a doubt, it blew through 3 of these, and then it blew the back part, the backboard off. So we were good for 3 of these. As you can see, it blew right through here. That is just one powerful rifle, that's for sure. There's no question about it. So definitely putting out some serious foot-pounds of energy. Anyway, let's move on and let's shoot something else. Now it's going to be Zeus versus the frying pan. Let's see how well this does with this frying pan here. Yeah, that slowed down. Not even a little bit. That just punched it like it wasn't even there. All right, so what we're gonna do now, guys, is we're gonna shoot a couple more things, but I'm gonna bring Max in to help us out. So Max is gonna shoot the last 2 items, and then after that, we're gonna sit down and talk about this gun. We're gonna wrap it up with our conclusion. So, got a couple more items for you.
Okay, folks.
So let's move on to the next segment.
JC felt bad about having me stand behind the camera all the time, so he wanted me to come out here and shoot a couple things, just for a little equal time, I guess. All right, so we're gonna try this guy out on the Zeus on this cinder block and see what happens. I don't know about you, but I think that is gone. Hey guys, we're back over here at the 50-yard line to give you kind of an idea of the power of this, the Zeus. So I'll let you take a look and see how it looks. Okay, so that's our range. So now we're going to put one down range here and see what we can do to that little watermelon. Or actually, it's kind of a larger watermelon. Oh my. You guys take a look at that on replay. Okay, before we hit the conclusion, I figured I would wrap this up with a bang. So
Thanks for Max for helping us out there. He's got to get out there and shoot once in a while. All right, let's end this with a bang. I'd say that's definitely a bang. All right, let's wrap this up with a conclusion. Let's move on to the next segment. Conclusion here. Wow, this was so much fun to shoot. We had such a good time doing the filming on this, and there's at least 6 people that got to shoot this rifle, and every one of them, after they shot it, they had the biggest smile on their face, because everybody comes up with the same conclusion. This is an air rifle. An air rifle produces this type of power. Oh my God. I know, like I said before and I mentioned, it's like shooting a 12 gauge shotgun because you've got the recoil that goes with it and everything else. But like anything else, let's talk about the negatives. My only negative on this is how loud it is. It is really loud. But thank God for Donnie FL, because he makes a suppressor for it. And this suppressor enabled us to be able to shoot this in the backyard. You know, when we were out, my buddy Carl's ranch, obviously we didn't need to use this out there, but we wore air protection. But I just wanted to show you guys how this functioned without any suppressor on it. But the suppressor's awesome. Anyway, Donnie FL, I'll leave a link down below. He makes suppressors just for about every air gun out there. And they are high quality, all metal. Anyway, just keep that in mind. But anyway, so my only negative is how loud this is. Other than that, this gun is unique. It's completely unique. Like I said, this is the world's most powerful production air rifle, and I think we proved that today. I don't think there was a cinder block that could stop it, that's for sure. So this thing is second to none when it comes to power. But speaking of power, let me talk to you real quick. I went ahead and charted this because I think it's important for you guys to know. So check out this chart. What we did is, when you fill this full to a full tank, which is a 4,500 PSI, and you fire that first shot, you lose about 1,300 PSI just on that first shot. So it goes from 4,500 and it drops all the way down. So the actual sweet spot with this rifle is from shot number 2 through shot number 5. Because you have a lower standard deviation between those rounds. So what happens is, we found out you get a lot more accuracy. So between shot number 2 and shot number 5, you get the most accuracy. You average about 912 feet per second, and that was using the 1 ounce slug, the 440 grain slug. And we got 813 foot-pounds of energy. Now obviously, if you want to pump it up and get the most power, you start out with that 4,500 PSI. But just so you guys know, you only have to fill it to about 3,000, 3,200 right there. In fact, behind the scenes, we used a scuba tank most of the time to fill this up, because the accuracy between that shot number 2 and shot number 5 was right there. You guys saw how accurate we were. I mean, we were shooting, little over a 1-inch group at 50 yards. In fact, we got rid of that pesky gopher once again. So that's just kind of a little insider. You don't always have to fill it to 4,500 PSI. This performed really well at 3,200 and then working its way down. So we had really good accuracy with this. So as far as a hunting rifle, there's nothing you're not going to be able to hit or stop, for that matter. I mean, seriously, we're talking, this is big game type of air gun. It really is. Also, I wanted to show you from a full fill, the first 5 shots, what the slugs look like. And you can see the difference here. So I took a photograph of 5 slugs that we recovered, and those are the first 5 that we shot. So from the 4,500 PSI fill, we worked our way down. You can see that the first one obviously mushroomed a little bit more, and as the air decreases, the mushroom and the size of the impact of the pellet becomes a little bit smaller. And that was using the 1 ounce, the 440 grain pellets. But as you can see, all the way through the last shot, you're still getting a significant mushroom. And those are definitely going to be good shots, especially if you're hunting, that's for sure. But anyway, I just wanted to show you what those look like. So this is really one of the most fun guns I have ever shot. It really is. It was so enjoyable, and it was so much fun going through the different tests and seeing what would penetrate. I still keep coming back to 2 things. And by the way, I want to thank Max for helping us out. He sometimes is a little camera shy, but he came and did a good job. He destroyed that cinder block for us, and then just absolutely annihilated that watermelon. And that's just so much fun to watch that impact. It really is. I have a feeling you guys will go back and watch that again, because just watching that impact, oh, it's like I said, this is so much fun. It's not too often I get really, really excited about an air rifle, but this is, like I said, this is one of a kind. It really is. So without a doubt, this is a 5-star rifle. It's not, I mean, it's not even up for discussion. What do these retail? These retail for around $1,200. So just keep that in mind. But it is a high quality rifle. It's got a gorgeous wood stock on it. The finish is amazing. Even the bluing and everything on it is terrific. It's a very smooth operating gun. It really is. If you're interested in one of these Zeus or any of the other AEA products, a pellet shop is definitely the place to go. Also, I believe he also carries the suppressors as well, the Donnie FL suppressors, or you can go directly to Donnie FL, either way. So with that, I do have one more thing to add. Did you guys notice the red shirt that Max was wearing? It looks similar to this. So I made these limited number shirts up. Check this out. And on the front of them, they say, "Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives." We've got on the left sleeve here, we got our Airgun Detective logo, and then once again the American flag moving forward on the right side. So pretty cool shirts. Now, I'm not selling these shirts on my website. Absolutely not selling them. But there is a way that you can get one if you're interested. The reason it says "Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives" on the front is because that's our saying at every intro, is "Stay tuned for Airgun Detectives." So if you want one of these shirts, shoot me a short video, an intro. And like I said, 5 to 10 seconds. Make sure your camera's sideways so we get the widescreen. Obviously make it clean, nothing dirty. But if I use that on the air, in other words, I use it in one of the reviews, I will send you a t-shirt. So you got nothing to lose. It's real easy. 5 to 10 second video. If I use it on the air, you get a t-shirt. Now I'll do that for the first, let's just say 25, 30 people that send me intros. You're going to get a t-shirt. I'll send one out to you. And I'll let you know right away if I'm going to use the video, and I'll send you a t-shirt out. It might be a couple months or several months before the video actually gets played. But if I intend to use it on the air, you're getting a t-shirt. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Airgun Detectives. This was a blast filming it, I have to tell you. Don't forget, this is where we take the mystery out of the air gun. So until next time, I hope you're doing good, your families are well, and you're getting lots of shooting in. So take care and God bless.